Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer, and I'm honoured to have been a guest on the Journey to Truth show. Now, with phone radiation, most people think that because they can't feel anything, nothing is happening. But the reality is that this radiation is causing a lot of stress and damage in your body, and your brain doesn't register that it's happening. The likelihood is that you'll only find out about it when this continuous stress shows up in the body as disease. And this is backed up by well over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies showing that EMF causes serious diseases when they tested it on rats. The Omnia Radiation Balancer removes this stress. It's proven to balance the blood, it brings perfect crystalline structure to water, and our kinesiology muscle tests show that the body goes super strong when you stuck it on your phone. And it works with 5G. You just order enough patches to cover every radiating device in your home and you're done. It lasts forever. But to be clear, let's not get complacent. We must all stop 5G together. So big thanks and big love to Tyler and Aaron. Click on the link below and you can quickly and permanently bring balance back to your body. Thank you.
Hey, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we have on Jermaine Chavis and Scott Savoy. Like many of us, they are light warriors, as some would call them, doing what we're all trying to do, is just wake up the masses and wake everybody up and help them unite in consciousness, bring unity consciousness to the planet. And it's this is a serious matter for a lot of us. And if you follow any of this stuff, you know what's going on in the world right now. And it is time to fight, and that's what these two guys are doing, and we're very grateful for it. But we want to start off by, so the cat's out of the bag. If anybody doesn't know by now, apparently Jermaine is Donald Trump.
Right? I don't know what's going on there. They try to troll me.
It's been
The archives trolling me.
Either you're Trump or you're his puppet master.
Hell yeah! Start that whole conspiracy. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm cutting myself out.
So
I'm kidding.
So if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, apparently, so Jermaine isn't even on Facebook. He got kicked off of Facebook. But when everybody tries to post a picture of Donald Trump, it tags Jermaine. For some reason, and it's a lot of people. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's like everyone.
Yeah,
it seems like.
So I don't know if you can explain that a little better than we can, Jermaine. What's going on there? You can.
It looks like the archons probably be trolling me. I mean, they've been doing this since the second assassination attempt, but yeah, it's like they've been they told me because I had my Facebook friends coming to me telling me, oh, this every time I tag you, or they apologize and say, look, I'm sorry I tagged you, I didn't mean to do that. And it kept doing it. I had to go look for myself and say, wait a minute, this thing is tagging me. Why? I'm not in that picture.
I saw it myself.
Like, wait, what is going on here? I'm not in this picture. This makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. So what I'm thinking, because I always think outside the box, is the archons are trolling me. Oh yeah, we got you off of Facebook. Now you're blind. You can't see what we're doing to these fools.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. So I know you got kicked off of Facebook because you guys did a live, and I know you were. And you were talking
right in the middle of it.
A live the next day before the damn accident, which I'm calling the second assassination.
Well, really, we were on the way to my house to do a live, and we got in a car accident. And I'm telling you, I was the one driving, and it was an uncanny car accident, but it was a real bad one. It could have been fatal. So we were lucky just to be alive. So we ended up not doing the live that night, and we did it the next morning. And then, what was it, 7 minutes in?
It was 11 minutes they cut because I had my friends tell me because I couldn't look because they locked down my account, told me your session has expired.
And then they try to get him to verify a bunch of pictures with people in it.
Lord Eisenhower came up as they want me to match Lord Eisenhower name to the picture. I say, they saying here trying to find out who my allies are, for they can go tag their account and say, oh, you've been charged with phishing. We got to lock you out of your account, but you can do the test for you expose your allies. That's what I saw right there. I didn't react to it, say, I'm going to get right back up here, so I'm just going to agree with everything they say. Wait a minute, I'm dealing with the archons here. I got to be careful about this and say, look, this is a trap. They're trying to make me expose all, and the people, the names that kept coming up in the test, all the people is attacking the Cabal, talk about Dracos, and also talking, a lot of Q people came up in the text. I saw these names of people I know who be posting about Q. I said, I know who's doing this. This is the AI Sentinel, as Corey Good warned us about. This is the Archons.
Yeah.
Totally.
So what were you guys, I think I heard you talking about on one of your lives, you were, your live was about the Iran situation. Is that correct?
No, it was about many topics. It wasn't just about Iran.
We just finished talking about Iran.
Yeah, we clarified the whole Iran thing. We broke all that down.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Bye.
Yeah. Actually, so I did kind of want to get into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Touching on
Absolutely.
that. I wasn't able to see that live. I don't know how many people were, but would you mind giving us a breakdown of what you think is going on?
Well, like a lot of other people have speculated, we're watching a final takedown of one of the last deep state proxy countries, Iran. And we thought that they really were just about to do a false flag with Soleimani. And Trump took him out before they could, so they were scrambling. And then we were talking about the plane that was blown up, and we were saying that they were probably expecting us to retaliate.
Yeah.
So they could blame the plane crash on us, which would pull the heartstrings of everybody. They'll say Trump just killed innocent people on a plane.
Well, a lot of people are still saying that anyway. They're like, oh, this,
yeah. Well, they're still saying it anyways. But if it was one of our missiles that did it, you know.
Yeah.
And that whole they try to make Trump a criminal. That would have tied into that narrative.
Yeah. Well, and they were withholding the articles of impeachment also, so they're probably hoping that could be added in to the impeachment hearings right now. You know, some war crimes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they know they got nothing, so they're like, maybe.
Exactly. So that's why they're holding it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely, to try and tip it over the top for him, you know.
Yeah.
It might have worked, but
but luckily
they
have Looking Glass technology.
Exactly, I was just about to say that.
Exactly.
Thanks to Project Looking Glass.
Exactly.
They saw that coming.
Well, I feel like they're always like 4 or 5 steps ahead of the cabal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I absolutely. Well, anybody would expect us to retaliate if they shot missiles towards us, you know. So for them not to retaliate was big, you know. For them to stand down and not do anything, completely ruin their plans. Don't do that.
Did you guys see the video of apparently there's a UFO over Iran, and this craft is going back and forth in the sky, and they are unloading all their ammunition on this thing. I mean, shooting missiles at it. I mean, everything they got, and this thing's just flying back and forth in the sky, and they're just unloading on this thing. And it's hilarious.
I remember that.
And Trump even commented on it and said, I hope you're not running out of ammunition. It's almost like it might have been a hologram or one of our craft, like something. It might not even have been there because that. Yeah,
seriously, yeah.
Apparently, some people have broke down that video, and it looks like the same type of craft that we saw over Washington. Over the Washington, or the obelisk in Washington. So
the 52 Washington.
No, just recently.
Oh, recently.
Just recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
recently. I didn't hear about that one recently.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Recently, there was a UFO sighting in Washington.
Really?
And
really?
It looks exactly like the same craft. Either it's one of our craft or it's some type of hologram. But either way, it was, in my opinion, it was the Alliance messing with them.
I hear that.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
Just a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
interesting.
I know James Gilliland was talking about it. He has the link to the video up on his under one of his videos. if I find that link, we'll put it in the description here.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned Trump's comments, and it's the tweet that he made in Farsi has become like the #1 tweet ever in Farsi. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Absolutely, yeah.
The one where he's talking to the Iranian people. I mean, those are powerful words, man. I mean, they got the protesters over there. They're in favor of us, and but the news media, of course, is selling on that.
Oh, they're anything they can at this point. Yeah. So I guess we just jumped right into things, but do you want to give just a brief background of yourselves for the people who don't know who you are?
Sure, go for it.
You don't have to. I just figured like Jermaine, I know you apparently you dropped out of school like 10th grade or something and
let me get into
educated yourself after that.
And because I dropped out of school 10th grade because my grandma had died, I think, during the end toward my 9th grade year, and I got disillusioned when my grandma died because she died in July of 2001 on July the 4th, and I just got disillusioned with the next grade. So when I got in 10th grade, I was depressed and sad because my grandma was gone, and that was the one in my family I was the closest to, and I can talk to about things. But she always, when I say I'm scared to go to the next grade, she'll say, just believe in yourself and stuff. So I was devastated. And so I wanted to build a time machine because I came across my first physics book at 15. And so I wanted to build a time machine so I could bury my grandmother back. And that was my whole obsession, after I dropped out at 10th grade. But when I got in 10th grade, what was the trigger is what we had this electronic class. So the teacher had to go join 9/11 because of that. Yes, that nonsense that was a lie. So he had to go join that, so they couldn't get no teacher to replace that class. So I had to go into home ec. And I already know how to cook. Okay, I know how to cook. I wanted to learn digital electronics. So I never got to learn electronics during that time. So I got to teach myself electronics, and I'm too busy to teach myself electronics. So I got me a whole electric meter and all that stuff. So I'm, but I'm so busy, I can't spend all that time trying to learn and master that. So I got to learn it along the way. I'm trying to save the universe. Well, y'all learn about the baton. So
that's what made you drop out?
No, they didn't. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. My grandma died, and I dropped out because I got a scholarship. Because this was actually in the 9th grade because I got in school in the late year, and they said, well, your son ain't gonna be able to pass. So my mother enrolled me in it. Said, your son ain't gonna be able to pass. And I said, watch me. They dared me, and I took a dare. And I proved them wrong. Got on the honor roll the first time in my life because I didn't take school serious until like 7th grade. And the rest of the grades, I understood enough how the grading system was working, how they was grading stuff, that I did enough just to get a D. But I did it mathematically because I found out how the teachers was averaging stuff. And I say, oh, that's how they get the score. And I figured that out, and I just made a D because I didn't care about school. I thought of school as a prison. I always thought of school as a prison. I looked at the clock and I'm like, pay attention to the clock. When is 2 o'clock so if I get the hell out, get out of
here. Me too, man.
Same here.
Especially high school.
I wish I would have dropped out.
Yeah.
No doubt, yeah. High school is probably when I first came about all this myself. I was in 10th grade and I wrote a 10-page paper on the JFK assassination.
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
And I just wondered why everybody believed the official story after all the evidence. It talked about a magic bullet theory.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous, the cover story that they had, but yet everybody believed it. It was the Bible or something. So it was my first awakening to the cognitive dissonance that people have to all this stuff, It's like you can present them with all kinds of evidence right in their face and they just won't believe it at all until they can get over it, get over the fact that they've been lied to.
Ego, arrogance. You don't learn no wisdom if you're arrogant. You learn no new wisdom if you're arrogant. And your ego because you don't want to be wrong because you got a superiority complex. And you're narcissist. So that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's no mistake. Like all this information is out there. Like at this point, the evidence is just so overwhelming. You can find it almost anywhere. and there's just some type of cognitive dissonance or just programming.
It's not powerful the programming.
Well, yeah, it's definite programming. Like it's like we always say, they've hijacked our co-creative consciousness, you know, and that's like, it's like we have a hive mind that's separate from our personal mind, you know. So like when you're talking to a person and you're telling them all this information, a lot of people, it makes sense to them, and they're agreeing with you, you know. And then once they go back to the collective, and like all that just dissipates, and they're back to the line, you know.
They get infected.
That's why you can be around a group of people and they're all kind of like joking about the same stuff and talking, getting all worked up about the same stuff, and if you try to like say some of this stuff, they'll all laugh at you and like joke around about it. I've personally experienced this. And then you go talk to one of them one-on-one, and it's exactly like you just said, it's like you're talking to a totally different person.
Great point.
Exactly. So it's like when you're using your personal mind, you know, you can think rationally, but once you go back to the collective, and like I said, they've hijacked our creative consciousness, so they have our hive mind, and it's like they're pumping this company line constantly, and they just start buying that again, you know. And then when they're around everybody else that's agreeing, they're like, okay, this has got to be the way then, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Peer pressure and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Well, it goes back to like you were saying, the ego, you know. People
arrogant. They don't learn no wisdom. Wisdom is about making the right decisions, so they keep making all the wrong decisions.
Yeah, not only that, you know, people are shamed. You know, we've been shamed when you follow this information. You know, you're called a conspiracy theorist. Label is like, it's like a bad word. You know, it's like, oh, you're a nutcase, you're a nutball, you're one of those. You know, and we're just trying to find the truth, or trying to find shreds of truth through all this madness. We know we're being lied to. So
yeah. And the funny thing about that is, you look at the history of just the term conspiracy theorist, and it was invented by the CIA.
Absolutely.
And that's when the heavy push for that propaganda started.
Actually, during the JFK.
You don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, and that's when like.
Absolutely.
Because before that, you could talk more about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. Now it's not conspiracy theorist. Now it's if you wear a MAGA hat, or if you're a Trump supporter, you get called
you're a racist.
Yeah.
And you're.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
CIA. You look at the patches on, of course, a lot of military and of course intelligence agency was written in Latin. Now, what I was in this group, and this guy named what was his name? Thomas something, but it was a guy in there that told me this. He said, yeah, that Latin language is actually ancient. It's Orion language.
Really?
So it's a reptilian language. Yeah, that's what he told me. Now I don't know if that I ain't confirmed it, but he was saying this, but it made sense when he said it. And that was in Facebook message conversations on my other account that they deleted. So I lost all of that discussion. I never copied that, but he said that. He said that's a reptilian language. So if you listen to the rituals, they be speaking in Latin. So it might make sense that they was using it as black magic for the Orion group. You know, they're reptilian because some of the Orions are reptilian, some of them are Nordic.
Yeah, that does make sense, because you're right. They do use the Latin language in their stuff.
Yeah, actually, I think we would be surprised at how much a lot of this ET background ties into our modern society. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it goes hand in hand.
Yes, the Orion group is definitely engineering a lot of structures in the society, monetary system, financial system, interest, all this stuff. Because I read this years ago, and it was talking about, like, the word tyranny comes from this planet called Tyrantor that was in the Orion Empire. And it was talking about the whole monetary system come from, the ships had to pay a toll when they came over some Orion territory, from 100,000 years ago on Earth when Orion was here in force. So yes,
absolutely. And you talk about how things are done in Latin, and English is like a direct derivative of Latin. Not only that, some people say that they've conjured the Latin language into a whole new, like the words that we say on a daily basis have different meanings than we know, you know, just like the words that we do, like spelling, like casting a spell and stuff like that. Yep. But it's real. Like, we don't even know the words that we're saying might be doing all kinds of evil things that we have no idea about. You know?
Oh yeah,
and I've heard that about good morning, like morning.
Exactly.
I get
or bless you.
I get
bless
you. I get a lot of light workers coming to me telling me, don't say good morning. I'm like, what? I'm trying to flirt with a woman or something. I'll be like, good morning, darling. You know? And don't say good morning. I'm not mourning anything.
Well, I'll tell you, like baby is like child of Babylon. You know, it's just like
heard that.
And those are just like the obvious ones. Who knows? Like the deep rooted ones that we have no idea about. You know.
Yeah. Hopefully, actually, speaking of, it's like 25 minutes in, and Jermaine hasn't said fuck yet. So.
Well, you're just busy ruining.
No, but who knows what that means?
He's just warming up.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. You know. We have mood for now. I ain't came across no bullshit, so.
He's not angry enough yet.
That's funny.
No doubt.
But you're right. That's a great point. Great conversation about these words that we say. It's just something that we all take for granted. We don't think about because it's natural. We're just talking. That's how we say it, and it's harmless. We don't mean anything, but there's a hidden meaning behind a lot of it. Now it makes me want to look into it a little more. Definitely.
No doubt, and it's like everything is not by accident. Like the fact that we have all this litigation and all these contracts and stuff, that's not by accident either. Apparently that's how they act up there. Like the Orions, the reptilians, or the Draco, they go through like endless litigation and they have contracts. Like kind of like the movie, I don't know, Jupiter Ascending, where she was trying to get her identity back or whatever, and she had to go through all this paperwork over and over again, or like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and when those big oafy things, they went through endless litigation over everything, you know. And it even goes back to us having soul contracts, you know, to even be here, you know. So
that's a whole Orion. Because a lot of light workers be naively saying, well, like talking about soul contracts, like, oh, they such a thing that we just have to deal with, you know. Why we gotta tolerate this BS, you know? Why do we gotta tolerate this bullshit? This is no. If you look at the definition of contract, it talks about binding and, you know,
you're a slave,
repressing. It's in the whole spelling.
That's what it's for.
Spelling is a spell. With the word, and like people, they talk about it. I see so many black workers talking about it. I'm like, you sitting there, you disempowering yourself. The spell is telling you to bind, to hold back, to constrict.
We're literally registered at birth, you know, and as people pretty much know, there's like straw man accounts for all of us, you know. And actually, a friend of mine, I saw a video on YouTube about somebody trying to tap into one of their straw man accounts, and he actually bought something online by typing in his full name, his social security number, followed by a routing number. Yeah,
I saw that a while back too.
I showed it to one of my friends, and he said, "I'm gonna try it." He did it, and he paid his electric bill. But they came back 2 months later, and they hit him with all these penalties. And I was like, man, you can't do something that's hooked up to the system, man. Like the guy on the video got a video game controller. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you have to get something they can't get back, man. They can get your electric bill money back.
Yeah.
I was actually really tempted to try that at one point, but I was like, everything in me told me not to go through with it. But I was like, I wonder if it works.
Yeah.
Well, apparently it definitely works. It definitely works.
Well,
but
here's
I hear you can get in trouble for it. I don't know exactly how you can get in trouble for it. I mean, it's your name.
Because I saw people doing that like a couple years ago when that was going around, and it would go through every time people did it. So that's proof that
every time.
That's proof right there. That exists. Is a legit.
It definitely exists. Well, like I said, he paid his electric bill.
It would go through, but then it would get sent.
It went through.
So it's not like
it was 2 months later.
It wouldn't
so
go
if you
through
like
this place.
Exactly. So it like the one guy, he bought a controller. He didn't have to give that controller back. That was his. You know, it came to the mail and everything. So
yeah, so
that's
there you
interesting.
go.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's crazy.
You were talking about the contracts and about us being prisoners. You made a good point on one of your lives. You say people make excuses for their shackles. You know, we're
Exactly.
we're so used to being prisoners that we make excuses for these habits and stuff. You know, whatever it is that we're doing.
Well, absolutely. People need to understand. We go through. Believe me, we go through a lot of social engineering. There's so many agendas out there to get us, but at the same time, it's our responsibility to overcome these things, you know. And the first thing is recognizing them. Like G.I. Joe said, knowing it's half the battle, you know. So you have to recognize all these things, and then you have to do your best to try and overcome them. And it's your responsibility to lift yourself up. It's yourself, you know. So you have to overcome all these agendas out to get us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about the Trump Pleiadian connection, the Q Pleiadian connection. I know you have some. I know you have something to say about that, Jermaine, and I want to hear it because I think a lot of us suspect that this is the case.
So you're talking about the way that the Pleiadian is helping Trump?
Yeah, that's part of the Q team.
Oh yeah, okay. You're talking about Casimir. Okay. A lot of people don't know about Casimir, but if you look at Casimir, now Casimir says some interesting stuff, but I found out he still got some ego problems, you know, and people need to understand because people need to be honest about themselves. You know, we have to expose all our problems too if we want to even get ready for this ascension because we got to deal with our trauma. So, like I said, just because I came across Casimir, and he sit there and said that this really pissed me off because it was insulting. He said this about he said the Pleiadians and Arcturians are the ones that mainly been helping humanity and all that. And I said, wait a minute, what is he talking about? Because I've been following Alex Carrier since 2009, and I've been trusting the Andromedans because they've been the most ET group that's been the most honest with humanity. Because they've been telling us about the pedophile rings, the missing children being eaten by Dracos and stuff. But the Pleiadians wasn't doing that during the 50s with the contact experience. They wasn't telling their contactees about the bad stuff. But the Andromedans been honest with us. So when he said that, I said, what about the Andromedans? Because the reason that we are in this mess right now in this solar system and whatever, or the state of the galaxy, is because during Atlantis, the Pleiadians left. They left the system, and it was undefended, and the Orions and the Dracos and whatever came in and set up shop and started messing with our genetics and stuff. And lowering we used to live longer. We had abilities. We was tapping in fourth and fifth density. They lowered all of that, you know. And that's why we in this mess. That's why we still struggling with these people that is in this low conscious state and don't have, you know, even a high strand DNA, whatever. We just dealing with them trapped in this left brain thinking, and we can't get through them to wake them up, you know. So that was the Pleiadian. So I got on him about that. But like I say, the stuff about the Trump being connected, it started to make sense. You know, when you look at all the Casimir posts, it started making sense when you read all that. Instead of looking at the Q drop, eventually when you read it, it started making sense because you start understanding all this logic. So you look at the Casimir post, go back and look at his fast post where he was talking about that. It started making sense because you start seeing patterns. The 3 stars that was in the Q drop. Then you had the way Q was talking. Wait till you find out who been talking to you here. And everybody was thinking it was JFK Jr., but it probably a Pleiadian, you know.
Yeah.
And then the interview Laura did with Stuart Swallow.
Absolutely, yes.
That talked about the
Stuart Swallow said there was 9 people involved in the Q team, 6 of which were high-ranking generals and former intel agents, and 3 of which were ETs. And I think he even broke it down to 2 Pleiadian and.
I don't know if he broke it.
Did he break it down? No. But he said 3 ETs. That were part of the Q team, 9 people. This was Stuart Swidlow. He did an interview with Laura Eisenhower.
Y'all haven't seen that?
Oh, yeah, it's a very good interview.
I remember hearing about it, but I never. I think I.
Yeah. So I mean, you take all the information like that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? But it does match up to what a lot of people do suspect. that there has to be some sort of ET presence involved with the Q team somehow, you know, and they've always said less than 10, so I guess the number would match up at 9, you know. So
yeah. And there definitely seems to be some type of a galactic presence assisting the military as well. I think at this point, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious.
Absolutely, and of course the patents that they're talking about, you know.
Yeah, that's what Dave Wilcock did. He's been absent for months, and then he did a whole YouTube, the amazing production. And when I was watching this, because I didn't get a chance to talk to Dave Wilcock when he was at Dimensional Exposure, Aaron. Because remember you chilled with us at a party Tuesday. I didn't take tonight with Justin and stuff.
Yeah, but, it was awesome.
But like I said, we sit there and what was I about to say? Because I forgot what I was going to say.
You're talking
David
about David
Wilcock.
Oh, yeah.
And the
video.
the presentation that he did.
That's
the YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, the one about, he was talking about the patents. Okay.
Yeah.
He was talking about the patents. Now, you look at all those patents, you know, they all describe something that a starship would need to operate safely in deep space. I mean, you got the propulsion system, you got the shield technology, because it talks about electromagnetic shields. I'm talking about the shields in Star Trek, you know, shields up. That's what they're talking about. Shields up. You know, so you got anti-gravity, and then you got different theories, because I know some theories talking about jumping into hyperspace and stuff that a lot of people don't even know about. I don't even think Jordan Safer knows about this, because I ain't never heard him talk about it. It's called Heinz quantum gravity hyperspace theory. And I put that post on my wall, but I can't access my account now. So y'all got to go look and grab it off and preserve my stuff, because they're going to erase my account. They just waiting when nobody paying attention. They're going to erase my account.
And I'm sure we all know that the Space Force is their way of disclosing all these things.
Oh yeah.
And it's even though, I mean, like the To the Stars initiative or academy, we know that's the limited hangout, their way of but even still, I think the Space Force is that as well, but they're just going to disclose a lot more, because they'll never disclose all the things they've done, because there's so many atrocities behind it, you know? Like, if you hear the testimonies of some of these super soldiers, not just Corey Good, but like the ones that don't get any fame out there, you know, all their stories corroborate with each other, you know. So it's corroborating testimony, which is very, very relative. It's you can convict somebody for murder, you know. So, but anyways, they all say that it's torture of little kids is the basis of all these programs. You know what I mean? And
it is.
Yeah, it's
so and it has everything to do with slavery and the way they are dealing us as cattle, pretty much, in all their deals. It has the only commodity that these people really have to trade is us, you know. So they trade us at will, you know, and they've gotten to the point where they enhance us. They enhance us before they even trade us off now. You know, they make us into cyborgs, they make us into super soldiers, and then they sell us off to the highest bidder. So there's stuff like that can never truly be disclosed to the public, I don't think, because the people in charge, they'll be hanging themselves, you know.
Or until our society's in a place where it's not.
Absolutely. We can look back on it. We can look back on it years to come, probably, and we'll know that it happened. You know what I mean? But as far as justice right now, justice for the people that did these things, justice for the people that survived it, you know.
Maybe after the.
I don't think that's going to happen in our lifetime. But
maybe after the ascension,
and we do that now, we're going to create all this other trauma. They're going to delay us from the ascension.
That's true.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what it seems like the Alliance is really worried about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, whereas the Stars Initiative seems kind of fraudulent and bad motives behind it, I think the naval one has more of the people in mind. You know, I think they have to find some way to bring this to us now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what.
And they can't disclose all that terrible stuff, so this is their way. You know,
I've been saying in my lives, I've been saying the Navy took over ATIP, and I told this to Michael Fowler at Dimensional Exposure. We had a private conversation. And he was like, yeah. And I said, he get it, you know. That's why I've been following Michael Sal for a long time. But like I said, he get it. You know, Michael Sal gets it.
He does.
Well,
he's
the man.
He's really good.
He
So I said,
he could be a big public leader if disclosure happens.
Absolutely, he would need to be, I would think. You know, well, look, when disclosure happens, we have a lot of work to do. You know, we have to rewrite all these history books. We have to implement all this technology that we have. You know, so we will need people like Dr. Michael Sal to help do such a thing. You know, I mean, to re-educate the public will be a monumental task. You know, to disclosure is one thing, but then the steps afterwards is what we should all be preparing for, honestly. You know, like the people that are watching right now, that's one thing you can be doing for yourself. You say, how can I get involved? How can I help? Prepare for the aftermath, you know, because there's going to be a huge aftermath. It's going to be like you lost your best friend times 10, you know. The amount of grief people are going to be going through, you know, and we're going to need a lot of help.
We need it, and we need to focus on practicing putting up protection every day right now, because there are so many for one, the AI and just any other entities that could be attaching to us, attacking us, infiltrating our lives in ways we don't even think of. We need everybody needs to practice protection, because you may have no idea you're walking around with an attachment or something.
Absolutely. It's almost a guarantee that we all have attachments onto us, unless you've been to a Reiki healer or something like that who removes these things on a regular basis.
Like So this is what Siobhan talks about. This is where people think, well, Siobhan, you know, like when people meet her, oh, she's just some naive woman that don't know what she's talking about. Ain't nothing special happening there. Because I get this where a lot of people be, you know, it'd be particularly a lot of women that be hating on Siobhan. So I sit there and get this, and I'll be like, wait a minute, I hung out with her, and weird stuff happening around her. I mean, with birds particularly. So when she talking about she's a leader of the bird tribe, when you see these birds start approaching us and squawking at us, and we don't get that much attention from birds.
Walking up to us in formation.
Yeah, in formation, back to back. Like this,
I'm not joking. It was remarkable.
Never seen no stuff like that.
Salute, man.
Like I said, Siobhan is legit. She is in contact with high density beings, drama, oversoul, theory, and high counts. Whatever. I don't remember all the stuff she be telling me, but whatever she's in contact with, she really is there. It's putting off. She's in contact with the high density. The energy being coming back is being broadcast out of her physical body, and these birds are like attracted to her. Like they can sense her presence that she is the leader of their tribe or whatever. Because like I say, the birds was coming to us like we was at a ceremony. I was like, what the hell is going on?
That's amazing.
And this happened before she even came in Ventura when we first arrived in Dimensional Soldiers.
Really?
Before we got in Ventura, we was waiting on her plane to get there. And this energy she putting out had a strong feel or whatever, that even that far away when she was still in the sky, the birds was already starting to come up.
I'll tell you, we've been on 2 trips. Awesome. We've been on 2 trips with Siobhan now, and it's happened both times. So
let me jump in real quick, and then I want to hear what you're talking about. But we had Siobhan on the podcast, and immediately, so I used to do it upstairs in my office, and I sat right in front of a window with the blinds open. Immediately when she signed on to the Zoom meeting, a huge bird just came and swooped up in front of the window.
I believe it. It's uncanny. You know, I mean, every time we would just be walking anywhere, birds were literally like flocking. They'd be circling in the sky.
Different kinds.
The ones that would walk with walls. Yeah, exactly. There were many different kinds. It's uncanny.
I saw a seagull and everything. I was like, what the hell? I saw seagulls on top of the building just standing, like, just paying attention to us, squawking. I said, what? This is walking as we walking with Siobhan. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it was me, Scott, and Cecily. And we was out there with Siobhan. And this is when we went into Vegas. Because when we went to Ventura, because we put on Desiree, you know, Desiree, that one that
she's on the show. She's on the show.
Yeah, she's on the show.
Oh yeah, I forgot she was on the show. Sorry, Desiree. I forgot you was on the show.
No, but we love you, Siobhan. If you're tuning in, which I imagine you will be, we love you. And I agree with Jermaine. I think that you are onto something because
no, it's uncanny. Like Q says, no coincidences, because it happened on 2 separate trips. You know what I mean? 2 separate trips. The bird activity was ridiculous.
And he was driving in a car. They flying by the car while we moving, squawking on cue. Like, what in the hell is going on here? So I said, okay, no, Siobhan legit. She is in contact. Another thing I know about, another thing that she put all the people don't realize is when she started saying we, that's them. That's that group mind when she having with the higher consciousness. That's when they come through, and they come through seamless, not like a possession. So you ain't gonna notice it. It just seamless come through. You don't even notice. So I know she's in contact with them in a higher level.
Yeah. I don't even know what we were talking about before we got.
Me neither.
I lost.
Me neither.
I lost the train of thought there.
Michael Sala.
Michael Sala.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Sala. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about how legit he is, and
absolutely. Like that he can use the help with the aftermath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good help.
But yeah. Speaking of the aftermath, though, Q. I think like anybody who still doubts the legitimacy of Q is beyond me now. I mean, because you obviously haven't done the research, you know, because the Q proofs are in the 3 dozen now or more.
600 plus.
Well, that's how many drops there are. Yeah.
I don't know how many Q proofs. I don't know what that is.
I think it was like 36, 37 or something.
Oh.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
It's to the point now, like I can't even have a conversation with politics with somebody if they don't research Q.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't do it. Because their points are invalid because they don't fully understand it. I'm not saying I fully understand it, but
no, not at all.
You have to understand at least some aspect of what Q is and what Q is doing in the political arena. Otherwise, you can't have a educated conversation. You just can't.
Well, it's almost like a cheat sheet to what's really going on, you know, because once you're armed with like the Q knowledge and you see right through what's going on in the mainstream media. And of course, like we know, they've got Project Looking Glass, so they predict a lot of things that are going to happen, and right before they're going to happen, allude to things that are just about to happen. You know, so it's like you're ahead of the game if you research this yourself. You know, it's the best show ever. You know, like he says, enjoy the show. This is by far the best show.
And I did basic probability theory on one of my posts that I can't access, where I show what a coincidence is and the probability of a coincidence. If everything, all this is coincidence, and you see the probability goes down as you multiply these fractions, which represented the how many times it can happen and how many times the event occur.
So yeah, like basically break all that down. If things happen once, okay, twice, then the probability.
You multiply them.
Yeah, it's likely that there's a pattern, and then when just as low as 3 things, and it's conclusive that there's a pattern, you know. So if 3 things happen that are so-called coincidences, it's conclusive, you know. So
Q even says in his own drops how many times before it's mathematically impossible.
Impossible. Absolutely. And that's pretty much what Jermaine's talking about there.
Standard deviation, because standard deviation is a measure from the norm. So it's like how much is shifting from the norm or the average. So that's greater than standard deviation, say the one in the drop.
So something like somebody who doesn't research Q, if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about, and I have people also tell me this, like, you know, so Q, a lot of their stuff doesn't happen or doesn't come true. Well, you know, they're lying or whatever, but they're not lying, but they do admit to disinfo.
Yeah.
So it becomes tricky, and I get why some people can't follow it or lose faith in it but you got to think this is war. You can't, you know, and things change in the fog of war. I mean,
you got to understand it.
Absolutely.
It's a public thing that anyone can view. So you got to understand the enemy's able to see these drops.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
if they just laid out everything they're going to do before they do it, the enemy's seeing that and they're able to prepare.
Not only that, they know the enemy's watching. You know what I mean? Exactly. In fact, some of their posts are directed exactly for the enemy, and that's why the disinformation is necessary. You know, so if you start to follow it and you're involved in it, then you know when the disinformation is there. You know what I mean? So I can like just recently with this whole Iran thing, I've seen people start to lose the faith. You know, but this is all a show. You know, you got to let it play out. You know, this is literally going to be the greatest story ever told. You know, and I tell everybody, it's time to get on the right side of history. You know, because
it looks. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I say it looks like that because you got to understand that the cabal had Project Looking Glass, so they still using. So this is the timeline war, the back and forth of the changing of the different positions in the battlefield. And you would think of it on the timeline battlefield. So they got it. So they have to give us, because if they tell us too much, because we don't know what the optimum timeline looks like. So they tell us too much and we don't know how to use that information. We're not going to be on the optimum timeline. We're going to skirt off into the negative.
Yeah.
So they can't, and then also they don't want their enemies to know, because they can use their little, time travel, whatever, and try to alter that and shift the timeline again. So that's what we got the Mandela effect called shifting timelines, because these are the different battles with changing position on the battlefield. They, different sides of the battlefield getting switched to, the enemy to the good guys, whatever. But so that's why another reason why they can't tell us everything, because too much awareness is going to make us affect the conscience. We don't know what we can't see in front of us because we're blind. We don't know what's in front of us because we don't know what the timeline was about. We don't know what the timeline looks like. So they can't tell us certain things, and then they can't tell us certain things, so the cabal won't know.
Yeah, so it's multi-layered, multifaceted, and like I tell some people, Q is gonna age very well. People are gonna be going back and reading over this stuff for years to come, and we're actually lucky to be able to be participating in this real time. Because people are gonna look back at all these Q proofs and they're gonna be dissecting them for years. And I'm sure throughout the years, people are gonna find relevance in things that we thought were completely irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So this is literally. This is literally like history in the making. So
Q could be broken down into a freaking semester-long college course or longer.
Absolutely, absolutely. It can be a whole subject in its own.
Yeah.
Like the takedown of the cabal.
Yeah, perfect. Title too. Take down the cabal. This is a lesson. Lesson what? Sit.
No.
Actually, that ties in with your live today. It was the reckoning is coming for the cabal, or what was it? Day of reckoning for the cabal is coming soon.
Yeah, it is coming.
That's true.
It definitely is.
It definitely is.
They're getting Guantanamo Bay ready for them. So
yeah.
That's going to be, they're going to be resorting.
The Senate trials where they can dump evidence to exonerate Trump and expose the Democrat criminality, which was being previewed in the Ukrainian hearings and the impeachment hearings. All the stuff kept coming out about the Democrats, making them look bad and badder and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Michelle Obama to join the presidential race, because the candidates they have right now is completely laughable. And I saw this video today of Bernie Sanders' campaign manager talking all this communist stuff. I was like, my God.
That was that was Project Veritas.
Yeah, that's the Project Veritas. Yeah, I was like, my God, that's Bernie Sanders' campaign.
We have to resort to violence because that's the only way to deal with Nazis and all this.
Oh my goodness! Talk about the gulags, and that's a great way. Like if you either get on the program or you gotta get out the way of the revolution. It's coming. Wow.
I think Bernie's pretty much done after that.
Well, that's going to seal Bernie's fate. And then when this stuff comes out in the Senate and they really start talking about Biden and really get into it, I mean, even just the stuff about his son, man, like his illegitimate son and how they were paying off a judge for years not to have a paternity test. And then the judge gets fired or something, and the new judge says, sure, you can have a paternity test. And Hunter Biden, you are the father. Yeah. It's crazy, man. And I'm live in Maryland, so I'm close to DC. To hear about his escapades and all the strip clubs in DC, it's just like, wow, this guy's off the hook, So, and all that stuff about Burisma, man, it's gonna sink Joe. And if he doesn't even sick himself, I mean, he can't. I mean, his campaign manager must be going crazy. The hairy leg things, like I love kids jumping on my lap. I'm like, what?
I know, like just everything he says himself. It's like,
what are you talking about, Joe?
Well,
his campaign manager must be like, Joe, come on, man, you're killing us.
Well,
what are you doing?
You're killing me.
And this Project Veritas is just, look, this Project Veritas is another alliance operation to take down the cabal, because guess what? Q is missing. This is 17th day that Q hasn't posted. So this is the alliance operation.
And you know what that means.
Yep,
the alliance is in operation, you know, when Q doesn't post, the operations are going on. So something's going on right now. They're preparing or doing something that we just can't see at the moment.
Stuff. The Golden Globes, ever since the Golden Globes, Iran, this Project Veritas, all this stuff, the impeachment thing, all this is all alliance operation, it looks like. Because Q is missing. It hasn't said one thing since December 29th.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what's funny about the Golden Globes too is I don't watch TV, especially primetime TV. And I was talking with Aaron, and I just had like this strong intuitive hit to turn on the Golden Globes. I was like, something's going to happen.
Wow.
Something's going to go on. I told him before
he called me up. I was so excited. He's like,
I was like,
dude,
yeah,
you got to check out the Golden Globes.
But even before it came on, I knew something was going to happen.
You felt the disturbance in the force.
Yeah, I knew something was going to happen. I told him, I was like, I've had a feeling something's going to go down, and it sure as hell.
I mean, yeah, my brother actually, he's still into all that, and he recorded it, and I got to watch it. I was shocked.
It was amazing.
It was glorious. It was so funny. To see their faces, Tom Hanks' faces. Oh my God.
Oh,
you know, he's all up in this stuff. You know.
Oh yeah. He was.
What he did with Isaac Cappy, that was terrible. The little roadkill thing with Isaac, with a little cap, and then that E on it for Cappy. That was messed up, man. John Hanks, and then to be out. And when he was talking, I just kept saying to myself, "Well, enjoy yourself now, Tom, because it's coming for you, buddy. It's coming for you."
I really wonder when it's coming, because we know these names. We know there's these big names, these celebrities, everybody we're hearing about it, but we still don't have like solid evidence yet. I can't wait for stuff to roll out, because I hear
you. But you like people were saying at the beginning, they can't just come out with this information, because what are they going to arrest themselves? They're going to try themselves.
That's what Corey did say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. They have to get all these people out of the way first, you know. And it's happening, you know. Somebody said like the Soleimani hit was like one of the first ones that they were completely in the dark about. You know, they had no idea it was coming. Usually they have some sort of leaks, some sort of information ahead of time. They had nothing.
We've already known because the media would have leaked it. They've already been a talk.
Yeah, so it's working. The swamp's being drained, as they would say. So.
And also, they can't reveal it to the people yet, because if they have the military in the Washington D.C., you have Marines arresting congressmen, and the National Guard arresting cabal members, and all these, whatever, police officer, whatever, all the, you know, whatever they're gonna do. But the whole narrative about Trump being a Nazi dictator trying to take power, that makes sense then. So they got to sit here and get the public conditioned to the mass arrest, because they won't be reactionary to it.
Absolutely.
And attacking the Marines, attacking the National Guard.
Absolutely. Well, like they said, they wanted to take Obama out in handcuffs. That would have definitely started a civil war. The media could have spent that any which way, you know.
Yeah.
So they have to prove to people that the media is lying. You know, they have to prove to people that the media is in cahoots. Make it completely obvious that they've been had, you know. This is a farce that's going on, you know. So they have to make that completely obvious.
You just reminded me of something. I don't know if you saw this, but was it today? The top trending thing on Twitter was CNN is trash. Hashtag CNN is trash.
I didn't see that.
I saw that.
Or it was right after the debates. That was the top trending thing on Twitter.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
I'm like,
no, it's already.
The Alliance can control Twitter now?
I mean, people are starting to realize, you know, like I even said to my mother doesn't get this stuff sometimes. I even said to her, though, I was like, when have you ever heard the media talk good about any Muslims. You know, they are always trashing Muslims in the media. You know, but they're talking about this Soleimani guy like they're talking about him in reverence. You know, he's wonderful. He's, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's gone. I mean, the people, look at the people loved him. You know, and it's furthest from the truth, you know? Yeah. And so I'm like, they're literally taking sides with this guy over your own president. It's like ridiculous.
A terrorist that's killed like.
He just finished murdering 300 of his own protesters a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? And it's for some people, Iraqi lives don't really matter, but he was behind American deaths too, you know?
He's behind Benghazi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, some people say he was the mastermind of Benghazi. Absolutely. So it's like, how could you say anything good about this guy? He's a mass murderer.
And it shows the public how anti-American, let's look at how anti-American Democrats are and how anti-humanity they are. I mean, enemy of the people, the media, and you know, and the Democrats.
And of course, they're completely silent on the protesters now, as they're cheering, trying to get the regime change over there, and actually showing support for America for a change. You know, like I think it was Jordan say they're talking about how they had American flag painted on the ground, and everybody went out their way not to step on it or something. Yeah. And this is Iran, where they would have you. They would have you think they'd be jumping all around it and burning it and setting it on fire, you know? Mm-hmm. So things seem to be changing over there. I mean, or if they're ever like that, because none of us really know. All we ever know is what they tell us on the news, you know? None of us have been to Iraq, so we don't really know what's going on there. I mean, some people have Iraqi friends, but even then, their Iraqi friends are here, you know? They're not over there, you know? So their propaganda is worse than ours. Their propaganda is right in your face. Oh, yeah. Like for example, like during that attack, they said that 30 people had died, and our mainstream media had picked up on it and started reporting it too. Which is hilarious. But of course they retracted, but I'm sure they didn't retract over there. To this day, people over in Iran probably think 30 people died in this attack. You know, their propaganda is strong. That was probably on purpose that they said that. You know, to make it seem.
Did you hear about, so during the Soleimani's funeral, that so the media was reporting like hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets mourning the death of him, but apparently they were forced.
Absolutely. Like the business keepers, they were all absolutely forced out of their homes. The shopkeepers were forced to close their shops and go out there on the streets to protest in favor of Soleimani. I mean, that's how it was a whole staged event, you know? Yeah. But the real protests are going on right now, and the media is completely silent on those. Mm-hmm. You know, people are losing their lives. Like, if Soleimani was still in charge, I'm sure he'd be out there murdering them left and right. You know, so
So this is obvious. It shows how corrupt and evil. Now you see they're killing innocent people, and the media is crying about this evil government. It's killing their own people, and it shows you how evil the Democrats are, how corrupt they are, how they are, you know, biased, and they're not they're deceiving.
Of course, it's the Democrats on the thing, but we all know it's everybody. It's all of them. I mean, the Republicans are not much better, you know.
It's the deep state,
it's the deep state altogether. I mean, the Republicans is the major front now. You know what I mean? But there was a time when the Republicans were in charge, and it was the same old story.
When Bush was in, it was.
Of course, this is when they started their plan when Bush was in there. I mean, Bush and the Clintons are the best of friends. You know.
Yeah.
They all sit down at the same table and break bread together and laugh at us all. You know.
Yeah, but like I said, Q told us to follow this Satan account on Twitter, and we found out all these liberals, all these liberal philosophies they was talking about. You know, eating children, raping children, sacrificing. They were Satanists. That's why Q told us to follow their Satan account on Twitter. And we found out all these liberals are Satan. Then you see all the agendas they support. That is satanic. I mean, come on, it's obvious. This is making it more obvious that they the enemy of the people are the same as the media.
Well, yeah, it's very obvious, you know. I mean,
so
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think the changes here. Like the changes here
absolutely
happening. It just, I've said this 100 times, it just has to play out on the surface. But in the end, we've won. That's why we're all getting censored, because we're winning.
Absolutely.
If we weren't winning, they wouldn't be threatened by us. They wouldn't be taking down our Facebook pages. They wouldn't be unsubscribing people from our channel. Edge of Wonder, Corey Good wouldn't be getting, David Wilcock, they wouldn't
discerning the mystery, soliciting the storm. The list goes on. And
yeah,
on.
The list goes on. Everybody would.
Tiffany Fitzhenry.
Yeah, it goes on. The
and
reason
another thing,
go
they
ahead.
don't want unique consciousness.
They don't.
This is why I lost my account, because this right here. They didn't want this guy because we showing you, and y'all together. This is unique consciousness. This is what we supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, they definitely don't want us all together. That's why they do all the social engineering they do to keep us apart and keep us fighting with each other. Yeah. But but especially in this community, this woke community, this research community, this truth community, we need to recognize these social engineering and agendas that are still at play. I mean, like, for example, like when people talk about racism and stuff, you need to not be disingenuous to the story. I mean, to what's really going on in these inner cities, and then the fact that there's real agendas at play that are like, for example, people get offended when you say, like, me or Jermaine would be more likely to get pulled over by a cop than you guys. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, I understand why people get offended by it, but it doesn't stop the fact that there are real agendas that's behind that fact. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
So stop being disingenuous to that, and let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Because the only way we're going to get to the bottom of it is to talk about it. You know what I mean? And we don't want to gloss over anything, because that's what gets people feeling inferior. You know what I mean?
That becomes the dividing.
So if we're really going to heal each other, we got to heal each other, all of us. Like,
talk about the dog.
Everything.
Talk about Jim Crow. We got to talk about they use babies as alligator bait. This happened. This really happened.
Oh yeah, and things are still happening today, like the vaccines. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Vaxxed.
Yeah.
But William Thompson in the movie talks about they are targeting the black boys. You know what I mean, with these vaccines.
The
MMR vaccine, the black boys are more likely to get autism than any other group, So these are real statistics that they all burned, of course,
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, people don't understand, like, the actual police force, its original inception was to chase down runaway slaves. Like, back then, sheriffs and deputies and constables and marshals, they did all the police work. Mm-hmm. The original police force was to chase runaway slaves. And then when slavery ended, it was to enforce Jim Crow laws. It wasn't until 1929 when Hoover passed, I can't remember the act, that the police force became the police force today, with a career that people actually go in and protect and serve and all that. So the original mandate was to mess with black folk, So it doesn't change much today. So people need to understand that and don't run from it. Don't try and hide over it. Let's meet it head on. Let's talk about it. Let's change it, And don't be just disingenuous to things that are really happening, Like Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. I live in the suburbs outside of Baltimore, and there's no Planned Parenthoods around where I live at all. But then you go right into the city, there's 5 in a little 5-mile radius,
Yeah.
Who are those for, Margaret Sanger, the founder.
Same way, yeah.
Same way,
yeah. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, she was all into eugenics,
They're all in Baltimore, and you look in Baltimore, it's a lot of black people there more than one.
Well, of course, it's the inner city,
So it makes sense. When you connect the dots back to the MMR vaccines. Why is they saying you're making targeting black babies, and the evidence is clear? And then you got the testimony telling me they're trying to destroy the evidence. But they trying to do genocide right here. This is genocide.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
people are sick,
and that's where it ties in with the Satanists, these satanic rituals. They want these abortions because there's something with them, those children, those fetuses that they crave.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and some people say that they like the melanin. The melanin makes the endocrine creamy or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like it's part of back to the social engineering. They make people feel okay about these things happening to a certain group. If they can put it on the nightly news every night that these people are animals, anyways. They're killing each other.
That's how they work.
But exactly at the same time, like, let's take Baltimore for example. There's not a drug factory in Baltimore. There's not a gun factory in Baltimore. Drugs and guns are not made in that city, yet they're in there in droves. how are they getting that? You know, you would think they would take their police force and patrol the borders to make sure none of this stuff got into the city in the first place instead of going around chasing the crumbs. But no, everything's backwards. You know, they're out there pretty much trying to get free slave labor because, you know, the 13th Amendment, they never really ended slavery. It says except if you are convicted of a crime, you know. So if you cannot be served about it, you get no slavery except
you're a slave.
If we convict you, you know what I mean? And then you can be a slave, you know, and then they do that. Like going back to I remember Edge and Wonder, they did an episode on the music industry.
I was just gonna say that.
And they were talking and they were talking about the prison industrial complex, how rap music is pretty much a product of the prison industrial complex.
Crazy.
And they use that as crazy. And they're filling up the jails left and right. I mean, 85% of black people that are in jail are in there for drug-related crimes. You know what I mean? So you took drugs away, these prisons would be empty. So.
Kanye West was the one that got Trump to bring the attention to that.
Yeah, but they make him out to be an animal.
Yeah,
a lunatic.
Yeah, they tried, but he was right. He was right.
Well, and that's another thing that people gloss over. Like Kanye West helped Trump sign, well, didn't help him sign it, but it was one of the reasons why Trump signed the prison reform bill. That is a direct result to help black people out, but black people still are one of the starch opponents of Trump. It's like everything's
Trump's racist.
You know what I mean?
That doesn't
they're saying Trump's racist, but he's the first one to do anything for black folks since Hillary Clinton called us super predators back in 1995.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. I know literally people that have jobs now because of Trump's second chance law that he signed into action, where if you're convicted of one felon, you get a second chance. You know what I'm saying? And nobody can discriminate that, not even city jobs or government jobs. So a government job has to give you a chance even though you have a felon on your record. So there's felons that I know that have government jobs now wondering how they got a government job, you know? Because no one's going to tell them it's because of Trump and the bill he signed, you know, because you might actually start liking him if that was the case, and they can't have that.
You got all these rappers sitting here talking about, like Ice Cube talking about arrest the president. But when he doing the campaign, you got him on video supporting Trump. So y'all a bunch of hypocrites. Oh, you puppets of the Illuminati.
Well, this is probably the latter, you know. You don't get all that wealth and fame on your own. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that's clean in all this, you know.
So
it's very few.
That's how the system's
very
set up.
few.
You have to sell out to them to get big. That's how.
Yeah, you definitely do.
Pretty much, that's how it works. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And if you accidentally get big and they try to get you, and you don't want to sell out, they'll ruin you. Kind of like what happened to Dave Chappelle. I don't know what's up with Dave Chappelle now, but at that time when he didn't want to sell out for the Chappelle show, they made him seem like he was a lunatic. Oh, Dave Chappelle moved to Africa and is going crazy.
He went crazy. You know? Yeah, I remember that.
That's all because he didn't want to sign on the dotted line, and they tried to ruin him, you know? Yeah. And they did for a little bit, you know? He completely disappeared for a while after that, you know?
They want him to wear dresses and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes back to demasculation. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I mean, what these guys do, like Q says, these people are sick. And
look, Matt Spears is the one talked about how the Dracos were trying to, you know, destroy the divine masculine, which is like the apple.
And the divine feminine. They destroy both. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why you look at the agendas they're pushing. They're always trying to feminize men and masculinize women.
Yeah, unfeminized. They don't want the feminine energy around.
So we're supposed to have, you know, divine masculine, divine feminine, and they basically destroy both by reversing both.
And what Matt Spears said, because he was in Cosmic Secret, because they showed some of his interviews in Cosmic Secret. Matt Spears said that the Dracos are targeting the divine master because they protect the divine feminine, to protect the planet because the planet Gaia is a feminine.
Exactly.
Well, look, it's like they're trying to neutralize all genders, you know, like even the seeds. You know, seeds are like genderless now that they're manufacturing. You know,
they're trying to turn Earth into a tranny.
Absolutely, they're trying to turn Earth into a tranny. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Earth, we got rain today finally in Australia.
Wow! Did they really? Yeah.
Fires are
awesome.
So we need to acknowledge that, because that was,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was shitty what was happening, and obviously we know.
Oh man!
But thank God it's raining over there.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know what their reasons for setting it on fire were, but to watch them all blame it on climate change was just like ridiculous.
Total nonsense. Oh,
my God. Talking about the Golden Globes of the world, I remember Jennifer Aniston. She looked like a robot when she was talking about.
She did not look comfortable reading.
Well, she didn't. Yeah. Here's my take on it. She was delivering a message for Russell Crowe, but I think she didn't want to deliver that message. You can tell it was against what she.
Something was wrong. Yeah, maybe so, because I don't probably Russell Crowe probably didn't write that message, So because that was right on company line right there,
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I knew. She was nervous and uncomfortable.
I don't know what her deal was. It was just very odd, very weird, very weird.
Yeah.
And we know what's all about behind the climate change thing, of course. They've been pushing this thing for 50, 60 years now,
Yeah. So
just calling it different things.
And the sun is put this out here. The sun is what's causing the climate change, but that's happening to the whole solar system, because the galaxy is sending out a super wave energy, plasma energy, that is going to cause energetic reaction that's going to cause what we call the ascension. So that's for the people out there. Ain't no climate change. That's nonsense. The trees breathe CO2 to give us oxygen. Do you know basic chemistry? Come on.
Yeah, they try to say CO2 is bad. It's like
it's true though.
No doubt. Well, like maybe if they keep cutting down the trees, that won't happen no more, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. How do they keep getting away with this? Because people don't understand science, or they don't understand physics. Like, let's talk about 9/11. I just gotta get this out here, because I keep hearing this with Q people. Look, there was no 19 hijackers with box cutters that did 9/11. That's a total lie. Don't you remember loose change? If you've been investigating 9/11, you should see loose change. That didn't happen, okay? There was no planes moving at 500 miles per hour that low to the ground because of the air resistance, the drag on the air, and the engine. The power coming out of the engine goes by cubic of velocity. So you have to put more thrust in what these engines are registered for to move at 500 miles per hour, that low to the ground. And also, their wings, when you're on the plane, they start, rocking. So they're going to get torn off, because that's aluminum.
Yeah, well, not to mention the buildings were dustified it wasn't controlled demolition either. That's like the limited hangout.
Yeah,
that's controlled
building falls at free fall speed.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you watch Judy Wood, Dr. Judy Wood, she's the best on 9/11. Everybody needs to know about Dr. Judy Wood. If you haven't, you need to research her. Shoot, you guys should try and touch out and get her on your show, because
y'all should interview.
I'm telling you, she's the best in this field, and if you follow her work at all, you'll see exactly what happened. They used directed energy weapons that they of some sort. I don't know. Cause the aluminum to repel each other. Well, go ahead.
Well, this is some physics that I never seen before. Okay, what seemed to happen, because if you're watching Dr. Judy Wood videos, you'll see these steel columns that's justified into like a talcum powder consistency. Like you've got all this dust coming off the columns. Where is this dust coming from? If it's just crumbling, it shouldn't be that much dense dust that is. You're seeing other beings behind it being obscured by this dense dust. So this is the material breaking down. The material, somehow the atoms that makes up steel is being told to repel each other. So this is becoming all this dust, and even when some of it made it to the ground, it kept breaking down and going up.
Well, you see the clouds just rushing through the city. That's the actual building and everything in it.
That's going through the city. That's the dust.
I mean, if you look at the rubble afterwards, you see nothing. No file cabinets.
Of the building, both buildings.
No toilets. I mean, how many toilets had to be in that building?
Gene was just saying on our last episode. Like in a normal house fire, the toilet's always still like the ceramic toilet is still.
Absolutely.
No toilet.
That's different physical material.
I mean, like I said, all the carpet. How much carpet was in there? They have nothing at all.
Well,
everything was burnt up instantly. And think about it. How many trucks and loads would it take to get all that rubble out of that city?
And you talk about billions of tons.
It would be like a never-ending chain gang to get all that stuff out of it.
I mean, billions of pounds for each building. 80% of the material, billions of pounds. How did they get all that
Well,
out
not
there?
to mention, Judy Wood talks about how Manhattan is built in what they call a bathtub. You know, it's under sea level.
Yep.
You know, so if all that rubble was to come and come crashing down, it would have cracked the bathtub, and Manhattan would have been underwater, completely flooded.
It's holding back the Hudson Bay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
there you go.
I agree with all that. We covered some of that on the last episode.
It's just impossible that 9/11 happened like it did.
There's so many things about it, though.
Well, exactly. I mean, we didn't even touch on the Pentagon. You know, the Pentagon. How the whole of the Pentagon is not even big enough for the wingspan of the plane. You know, and this is these same planes brought down 2 of the tallest buildings ever, but you can still see the office space in one of the holes of this Pentagon. You know, you can see paper on a desk. you know,
ridiculous.
The side of the Pentagon. This is another thing people miss. The side of the Pentagon that was hit was the Office of Naval Intelligence. Well, who is the Office of Naval Intelligence? Well, the Office of Naval Intelligence is the one running Solar Wharton.
Yep.
So that's the alliance. That's the core of the alliance. That's the reason we got a Q and everything going on. They got alliance with the Palladian group, the Nordics. This is what Kavanaugh talks about. The Palladians helped the Navy build Starfleet. This is what William Taubman talks about.
Well, David Wilcock did a presentation on like the origin of this alliance.
Mm-hmm.
I see it.
He says,
really
it's great. It was at Contact. I was actually there.
I was there too. I was there.
Yeah,
I was there
awesome.
in person too. Yeah,
that was great. But this alliance has been at it for a while, man. So this finally coming to fruition, man. It's wonderful, you know, and also the lines behind, like I said, those patents that are coming out. I mean, those patents alone, and there's an article that goes along with it saying that these things are in operation. These are operational patents, you know.
But Dave Wilcock pointed out on his YouTube special.
Absolutely. So I mean, why wouldn't that? Even people. I mean, there's so many people who call themselves intelligent and like to research frivolous things. This is something that is monumental. The fact that we have anti-gravity craft and free energy, you know what I mean? And they have patents for it, and the Navy says it's operational. Yet it's still crickets, you know?
And we stuck in traffic. You know, why are we still stuck in traffic knowing this?
It's literally
get up and fly.
World-changing, revolutionary stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sitting right there for anyone to see.
Yeah.
It's gonna change overnight.
News, nothing, no one's talking, you know. The only people that are talking about it are people in this community and
absolutely
underground stuff.
So we're kind of getting close to time here. So
I went fast.
I'm going to give you your soapbox, Jermaine. I want you to lay it down for us on what's going on what's going on with this AI signal right now.
Okay.
And what do we need to look for, and what can we do about it?
Okay. Now, in 2010, I found out about the archons. So I've been studying them at least 2010. And all this weird stuff started happening to me. You know, I'm talking about spiritual attack. I was talking on the phone with my phone, talking on the phone with my friend, because me and him had a spiritual awakening. This is why I also had my spiritual awakening in 2010. And we talked on the phone, and the phone hung up because I went somewhere. And he said he heard somebody talking on the phone. And then I had that weird thing. Then I had this neighbor in my mother's house. This neighbor had a cat. But when I walk out there, I never got bit by no fleas. But one day, out of nowhere, I started getting bit by these fleas. And then they started following me in the house. And I had a dog at the time, but I, gave her a bath. She didn't have no flea problem. So all these fleas just started attacking. And then as much as they kept attacking, and this was all the time, I couldn't even sleep, because they would keep attacking. And after all that time, they just disappeared one day. So what the hell? So what is going on? Then the first accident almost got in. My friend took his car to the thing because something was wrong with it, and they left the trunk, and they didn't tell him they left the front hood up. And so while we was on the highway, glass all coming out, hit the thing. He's a Virgo, so he was just clear, and also he was high, so he was just focused. So he hit the thing, and the glass started coming out, and I said, we almost died. And I had my brother's stepdaughters in the back, so we almost got killed on this thing. So that was the first example where I started to know something was wrong. I say, wait a minute, all this weird stuff going on. So then I started over the years. I started learning more about, the archons. I read the Gnostic information. Heard David Icke talk about it. he talked about the archons and strapping all this connection to. So he wasn't making it clear that this is AI, but he was saying, leading to it, that it was AI. And Corey Good came out. And Corey Good warned us about the AI signal, you know. Now, also, in between that, I was learning other stuff about how negative synchronicities can be caused by negative entities, and they were trying to say they were thought forms, but these archons, and this one thing I talked about on my live this morning on YouTube. These archons are not thought forms. They're not attention where you focus on and then they just wither away because you take your attention off. That's not what they are. Like Corey Good has been the main one that gave us this clear, detailed ever what this thing is. This is some kind of electronic consciousness. That's what he said on one of the interviews on Edge of Wonder. And it's like it's got self-awareness. It has an agenda. And I can sit there, what I can tie the archons to, they seem to be like the dark side of Force in Star Wars. They seem to have a will and, agenda. And, when he said the AI sitting and how you strive, how it affects people, and I came up with the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington, how they were touching, and that strive exactly what Corey was talking about, how the signal transfer between biological entities. And the other stuff I learned about how, like in the astral realm, is time space. Well, the Gnostic information, the archons are in fourth density. They're like another dimension. This is also what David Icke talks about. He's always describing the archon. I mean, he's not, or the Dracos that's in fourth density. He's describing them. He don't talk about fifth and sixth. You don't never hear David Icke talk about that. So I started recognizing, okay, in time space. Well, in time, we in space time in third density. So in time space, when any influence from fourth density projected on third density is manipulating timelines. It's going through time. We're going to observe fourth density entities, and this is what occurs with paranormal experiences. You're observing fourth density entities. They are moving through our time when they move or whatever they do, how their reality works, because it's more fluidic in fourth density because it's more mind. The thoughts are more focused in fourth density, so you can just any fantasy can come reality. This is what happened in your dreams, because in your dreams you're in fourth density, you're in a little astral realm. In some of your dreams, you are going other places. But I started to notice, okay, they can manipulate timelines. So this makes sense. They on the time space realm, so any emotional or kinetic energy they do is an influence down here is manipulating timelines. They're at a high vibration, so they can sit there and pluck your timeline, whatever the knowledge I'm trying to say. And so I found out how they can attack, the timeline. They can manipulate. And I learned some other information about fear. And I learned this from the Andromedans. Fear drains your intent, So when that light worker talk about manifestation, well, if you're fearful, you drain energy from that intent, intentional manifestation, however y'all say it. Or people with doubt, they can mess with your timeline because they basically doubt is based off of fear. So I say, well, the people who compromise their free will, who are in fear and they compromise their free will, and your free will is your anchor on your timeline. So it means your timeline can't be plucked because it got like this tension on it. It's like a anchor. It like anchor the pieces of if you think of a timeline, it can't move because you can't pluck it. Like plucking is shifting the timeline to put you on a negative path. So it can't be plucked because you got your willpower. So people with weak will, they free will to be compromised. So they can, when the archons attack your timeline, because they in a time space, and also their time flows differently. Time actually flows a little slower than up here in third density when you go into the higher realm. The higher you go, and I put this formula on my Facebook, and I put this formula, it's a simple formula from oscillations in physics, which is time equals inverse of frequency. So the frequency vibration go up, you think of your conscious vibrational awareness, energy on your atomic frequencies going up, time flows slower. So when this is what light workers talk about, or psychics talk about, events in the astral take time to trickleate down here because time is going slower. They got to catch up with us. So the negative synchronicities are what the archons create because they can manipulate timelines from their perspective. The negative synchronicities are these engineered accidents that benefit you, in the wrong way, like the positive synchronicities benefit you in a turn positive happens. The positive synchronicities is good luck. So I learned this from other information. I forgot what website it was. I think it was something called the Matrix or something. But it was a website I learned back in 2009. All that it was talking about all this other stuff about how these they call them think they call them second order beings. The first order beings they were saying had souls, and second order beings they were trying to describe them as thought form. But I said the archons are something different. They're not thought form. So that's when I found out they could type your time out because they exist in a different time space. I mean, they exist in a time space than we exist in third density. And Dave Icke talks about this when he talks about the way they can travel through space. They you go in that fourth dimension realm. But I took too much time.
No, it's all right.
Amazing.
So
No, you're right.
So I knew I was expecting you to get into some of that, and I wanted you to. So what can we do?
Yeah.
So
Oh.
how can we combat?
Oh
that?
yeah. Okay. This is what I'm still on this. This is something that is developed because like Corey Good was one of the first ones that talked about the co-created consciousness. You don't see this in a lot of, you look at the old light worker channeling messages, they don't talk about the co-created mass consciousness. They keep talking about, well, you create your reality and you are responsible for everything that happened to you. And what Al-Qaeda was told by the Andromeda was when you do that, you keep blaming yourself and you never look outside for something doing something to you. Because they talk about this whole, if you think about that, you're in victimhood. But if Corey Good telling us that AI, which I sit there and connect it as the archon, I lost my first Facebook account. I lost that because I connected that. I watched an episode of Cosmic School and I was analyzing it. And I was breaking it down and showing that the AI sitting as the archon. So when you sit there and understand that, that's when you can sit there and counter it. And how we counter it, because Corey Good told us the AI is taking over on several galaxies, and they've been using our the power of co-created mass consciousness against us because you've been ignorant of it. And this is in the rituals, the Golden Globes, all this stuff. These are rituals. They've been using it. The movies, like Independence. You look at the difference between Independence Day, the first one, it was, they're gonna kill us and wipe us out. And you see the second one, it talks about we defeat them and then we become a galactic society. So a lot of people didn't like Independence Day too, but it was talking about the fact that we come in a galactic society. So it looked like there might be an exposure film. So when we learn how to, with our co-creative mass consciousness, how to use it, which I found, and this is just initial because I ain't done with this. I'm still figuring this out. And I was trying to, when I did my Facebook Live, the first time I talked about it, I was trying to get other people to put their ideas in. But now I'm limited now because I got to find, an attorney. But they sit there and I sit there and said that, hey, your willpower is like a lens that focuses your intent. So if you think of your intent as an energy flow, and because like they say where attention goes, energy flows. So when you have an energy flow, this is where it comes into fluid dynamics, because energy looks like a fluid motion. So to maintain this, you think a funnel shape or this flow structure, this geometric flow structure, you got to have a strong force field to maintain that shape. Well, people with strong will, they can maintain that shape and they can focus in that funnel geometric shape. Well, people with weak will, that energy just going to disperse. It's going to go in random direction. It's not going to be focused. You ain't focused your intent.
So basically that's it. Just focus. We need to learn how to focus our intent and stay focused.
Yeah.
Stay focused.
And that comes from willpower. You having stronger will. You got to sit there and whatever, because I don't got that in front of me right now, but how you make your will stronger. We know. I found out that the will is not proportional to your fear. So you get in fear, you weaken your will. So when you become, whatever will is like confidence in yourself, trusting yourself, whatever that is, you boost that, you got more of a chance. So when everybody start lining their intent, we can start speeding up the timeline for the soldier. We can start tracking that power timeline to us faster. That's the secret.
No doubt.
And that's what we're trying to figure out.
It's also like a race for awareness, who's going to become aware first, the AI or us as a public?
Yeah, tell them about James Rink.
Oh, well, like there's a guy, James Rink, he talks about how the AI is scheduled to become self-aware in 2026. And we have pretty much until then to do something about it, because it's kind of like Terminator. Once it becomes self-aware, the rest of the story.
All the Terminators. All the Terminators.
So it's really like a ways for awareness, because it's the awareness of the public that can counteract that. But we are completely in the dark about all these things, Like the average person has no idea that AI is it's all movie stuff to them. You know, they have no idea that this is a real threat to us. You know,
a trap that he's been falling
into. But if we were all to become aware that this could be a real threat before the AI becomes aware itself, then we could do something about it. You know, as a collective. You know, but until then,
and James Rink,
we're lambs.
Because this is one thing I remember from his interview. I mean his lecture. He said there, say, if we don't get full disclosure soon, by the year of 2026, we're gonna be on that timeline where the AI becomes self-aware. So we got to 2026. This one alternate timeline because he experienced other timelines. He experienced one of those alternate timelines, so he knew stuff ahead of some of the stuff that's been happening. So if we don't get full disclosure soon, we're gonna be on that timeline where the AI becomes self-aware. And you see this happening because people, like I said, they got Alexa, they got Siri. Oh, it's so cool. It learns what I'm doing and stuff. Not understanding this thing is adapting to you and just, you know, cataloging everything, your weakness, your personality, it can use against you later. Because if you look at Brainiac, you understand what the Archons are doing.
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I like to think, like people saying over and over again, we've already won. This is already solidified, you know, that I don't know if that's, I'd like to believe that's true, but or is it lulling us into a false sense of security? You know what I mean? To think, okay, well, we don't really got to do nothing. We've already won. You know, it's going to play out on its own. You know, but like I always say, we need to change the narrative. That's another thing people can do. If you hear somebody talking something that you know is a blatant lie or blatantly not true, change the narrative. Interject the truth into there. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way we're going to start breaking through, is to get the real truth out there, give people an alternative to what they hear, because most people have no alternative to what they hear in the mainstream media, so that's what they go with.
Yeah.
And they never hear anything to the contrary.
Exactly.
To piggyback off what you said, you know, people saying, oh, we already won, so we just sit back and let it play out. Like I said earlier, I think in a sense we did win, but that does not mean we can lay back. Like we still have
let our guard down. We don't let our guard down. We don't let our guard down.
We need to be doing this podcast, talking, getting the word out.
Absolutely.
Doing the inner work.
Absolutely.
Inner work is just as important. And we
most definitely.
It's got to be a constant battle every day. We have to be aware.
Absolutely.
And the more people that wake up, the smoother and easier this transition is going to be, is the way I look at it too.
No doubt. Like Q, like they talk about chess a lot when they talk about Q, and it is like chess. Even though you can put somebody in checkmate, there's still moves left until the king is actually taken out, you know? So this cabals, they're going to make sure we go through every move before they actually they're not going to lay down their king on their own like an honorable person. They're going to make us go through every move to complete the checkmate. You know what I mean?
And this also connects back where I didn't finish because I forgot when you talked about the Palladian connection with Trump. Well, they talk about 5D chess, where the Palladians, they go on 4th density or 5th density. Well, if you're on 5th density, you had a higher perspective on manipulating the timeline because you starting to approach the level of your higher self, which I think is on 7th density. Because I was watching one of Laura Eisenhower's lectures, and she said like the higher self is like on 7th density. So you going up, they actually, that's another, they time is even more slower than 4th density. So they, like I said, they at the higher energetic level where they can manipulate timeline. This is getting put close to your higher self where you can engineer synchronicity. So that's probably another way that, you know, these 5th density Palladians, if that's what they are, that, you know, is working with the Q group, that'll make sense because they have the ability to do that. They 5th density is like the psychic realm.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Totally.
And a Q proof for me is all the synchronicities I see throughout my day that tie into Q. I'll see Q or 17 or
17 everywhere.
He's 17 all the time.
It's tied
all the time.
And half of them I can't even remember, but it's weird how it all ties in. And I'm like, okay, so if this is Q has got to have something, it has got to be more than human military. There is some ET
absolutely
that are guiding me to
absolutely
causing these synchronicities, because otherwise how would that occur?
Absolutely. Like James Gilliland was talking about how before Q even started, he was getting from his people Q.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden Q came on the scene. Well, if that's the case, then there you go, you know?
And it was in direct response to what he was asking them, when is all this nonsense and chaos
absolutely
crap going to stop? And that's when they were saying Q.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
what does that mean? And then Q comes out a few months later.
Yep.
I mean, come on. And, you know, if you know James, then, you know, that's very significant.
Yeah, and also another thing. Let me tell them about the Patal, because this is one thing that they don't know about, which will make sense, a whole lot more sense. Because even if you don't know nothing about the Patal, you don't know what's going on, really.
About what?
Now, the Patal. This is
Alex Collier.
They also call They also call the founders. Now, when I met Siobhan, she was all in her post on her group. She talked about these twin flames, and she called them the founders. So at first, I wasn't even going to even talk to Siobhan because I was thinking she's some naive light worker. I had the same impression that she was a naive light worker, saying some BS. So, but she talked about the founders, and she tried these different colored twin flames. I said, wait, that makes sense. She's talking about the Batal. So the Batal, this is what coming from the drama. I don't know if they 12 density or 11 density, but the drama told I was quiet about the Batal in the 90s. They was a 11 density group. They was originally at 5th density before they created 3rd density. So they like created God. They created 3rd density. They already evolved up to 11 or 12 or whatever the case is. And because you had some source, I think from the Renthia book, it talked about them being, that's on a source I heard about the Patals in Renthia. And it talked about them being at 12. So either 11 or 12, whatever it is. But they created 3rd density. Now, 3rd density, the reason they created 3rd density is they wanted to win a spiritual war against the ancient royal bloodline of the Draconians called the Seekar. And the Seekar are in, I don't know what density they go to, but they wanted the ancient bloodlines after the Draconians. But they was ancient enemies of the Patal. And so they created 3rd density, so they was at 5th density. So that's what the Draconians told Altair. So I got the suspicion, well, what the hell 4th density come from? It looked like 4th density probably was created by the Archon. It's like a base for operations in our universe. They created 4th density for the base, for the beachhead. When they invaded the universe, they created 4th density as their territory, the astral realm, you know. So the Batal, they created 3rd density because they want to evolve back up to 11 and bring enlightenment to the Draconians. But that didn't work. But what happened is, whatever form, I don't know if he's the Elohim, because I'm looking at Peter Slattery thing, because I watched a new one on Edge of Wonder.
Wow.
He called it Ascension something.
Teachings.
But
Ascension teaching.
Okay. He talked about Elohim. He said he was the original blueprint of source and stuff. I'm thinking, was that the first Patal incarnation, you know, in 3rd, when they created 3rd. So they created 3rd density. They wanted to win the war, but a lot of them got trapped down here. And they got trapped because the Orion group cut 10 strands down that left the 2 physical. The normal 2 physical that people had, the 2 physical strand DNA. So the strands of DNA relate to how much energy your DNA can hold, vibrational energy, to get you up the levels. So the DNA strands are related to how you can get up the ascension level, because you don't got the energy to break the threshold. You can't vibrate out of 3rd density. Vibrating out of 3rd density is like when you go to speed of light, you jump at the 4th, you know, and when you go to speed of light, you go fast to speed of light, you jump, you disappear from the generation, you decouple, you're out of phase, and you become in phase with 4th density. So like I said, the Batal created 3rd density. They got trapped down here, and this is what the whole conscious war is about, is to keep people ignorant, because a lot of people, and I suspect this, a lot of people who are sheeple, who one of these stubborn, hard-headed people that we can't stand, these skeptics, they probably be Patal, you know. And Patal is one of the most powerful soul groups. And a lot of reasons, a lot of ETs here, this was told to Alex Collier, the reason a lot of ETs here in the system, they're coming out the sun and all this, is they found out what soul group was incarnated among humanity. And it was the Patal. And what Corey Good tell us, because he don't got the, I don't know if the group, the Williams, I don't know if they know about the Batal, but he's not telling us about the Batal. Because they didn't say this in Cosmic Secret. It wasn't in there about the Batal. They were talking about the Preadamite.
Ancient builder race is what.
Yeah, that's not the Batal. That's the Buavian. Yeah. So the Batal are the ones that probably created most of the ET groups in the universe, you know. So, and with Siobhan information, when she talking to the Andromedan Council and the Syrian Council, whatever she talked to, she told me some other information that, hey, the Batal probably created all the density. So
yeah,
that was shocking to me, because I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
But like I said, they got trapped down here. They trying to keep people asleep because they don't want, because when you start waking Batal up, this one way what we can do. When the Batal start to become aware of who they are, and they start unifying, well, since they up at 11 density, they start tapping up those high energetic realms. They can push us all to the ascension. Just about a few of them waking up. So the war is to keep them asleep, to keep them asleep. And another thing, like they talk about the frequency friend. Well, this was told by the Andromeda Salvatore. The pyramids on the Earth, Moon, and Mars was sending out a magnetic sound frequency that was opposition to the Batal. So the Batal can't ascend out of here on the soul level. They hit a wall. And this has something to do with that. Michael Salvatore did an article on this because he just ties to that timeline 300 years in the future that was warned by Alex Carrier in the 90s. This tyranny and this is what Corey Good talking about, this tyranny, this is what Anshaw told him, that showed up in the galaxy where the Draco have open rule, and I think the AI started being implemented. And this, in more detail, this came from this other contact team named Tolik, who talked about the fact that this timeline was tied back to the Earth, Moon, and Mars. And Michael Salvatore talked about the fact where the Tar Fleet was established on the Moon. You got the ICC on Mars, and then you got the Cabal on Earth. So they all became successful, which created that timeline of tyranny, 350 years in the future, that the Andromedans and all these other groups been coming back in time. Mr. Corey going to talk about the timeline war. They've been coming back in time to sit here and sit.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have to cut it off now. But I agree with that, and you actually, I agree because it resonates, and you bring up some interesting points there. And it gives me something else to look into and something to think about, because that's why we do the podcast. Everybody brings something new to the table. We all have a piece of the puzzle. So thank you guys for coming on, doing this.
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys were able to come together and do this together. Sorry about your Facebook, Jermaine, but
this is the revenge. This right here is the revenge. The counter offensive.
There you go.
There you go.
And we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Your show's awesome and everything you do. So thank you for having us on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. With that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. And make sure to check out Jermaine on his YouTube channel, since he can't get the Facebook Live. What is your YouTube channel, Jermaine?
Oh, it's on Windu Chai Sit. The W is capitalized and the C is capitalized, and then you got Sit. Windu Chai, so CHI at the end.
So Windu Chai 6.
Like Mace Windu.
Yeah, WINDU CHI 6.
We'll put a link.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, there you go.
Click on the link.
And is there anywhere we can follow you, Scott, just on Facebook?
Well, stay tuned. Me and Jermaine, we're getting things together. We're about to have a little something coming out in the future, so stay tuned for that.
Perfect. We're looking forward to it.
Nice.
Looking forward to
Most definitely.
All right. Good night, guys. Thanks for coming on. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later. Good night.
See ya.